Ancestry back through William the Conqueror to Fornjot, King of Finland. John Major Jenkins, April 2004. Part 1. From the Sagas of the Orkneyingers, Samaking list found also in Hans Skringla. There was a king named Fornjot I. He ruled over those lands which are called Finland and Kvinland. That is to the east of that bight of the sea which goes northward to meet Gandvik. That we call the Helsing Bight. Fornjot had 3 sons. One was named Hlur, whom we call Aegir, the second Logi, the third Kari. He was the father of Frost, the father of Snow the Old. His son's name was Thorri. Thorri had 2 sons, one was named Nor and the other Gor. His daughter's name was Goi. Thorri 2 please see notes link in video description was a great sacrificer. He had a sacrifice every year at midwinter that they called Thorri's sacrifice. From that the month took its name. One winter there were these tidings at Thorri's sacrifice, that Goi was lost and gone, and they set out to search for her, but she was not found. And when that month passed away, Thorri made them take to sacrifice, and sacrifice for this, that they might know surely where Goi was hidden away. That they called Goi's sacrifice, but for all that they could hear nothing of her. 4 winters after those brothers vowed a vow that they would search for her, and so share the search between them, that Nor should search on land, but Gor should search the outskars and islands, and he went on board ship. Each of those brothers had many men with him. Gor held on with his ships out along the sea bight, and so into Aland S3C. After that he views the Swedish scars far and wide, and all the isles that lie in the East Salt Sea. After that to the Gothland scars, and thence to Denmark, and views there all the isles. He found there his kinsmen, they who were come from Hlur the Old out of Hlur's Isle 4, and he held on then still with his voyage, and hears nothing of his sister. But nor his brother bided till snow lay on the heaths, and it was good going on snowshoes. After that he fared forth from Finland and inside the sea bight, and they came thither where those men were who are called Lapps, that is at the back of Hedemark. But the Lapps wished to forbid them a passage, and there arose a battle, and that might and magic followed Nor and his men. That their foes became as swine, 5 as soon as they heard the war cry and saw weapons drawn, and the Lapps betook themselves to flight. But Nor fared thence west on the Keel, 6 and was long out, so that they knew nothing of men, and shot beasts and birds for meat for themselves. They fared on till they came where the waters turned to the westward from the fells. Then they fared along with the waters, and came to a sea. There before them was a firth as big as it were a sea bight. There were fickle tilts, and great dales came down to the firth. There was a gathering of folk against them, and they straightway made ready to battle with Nor, and their quarrel fared as was to be looked for. All that folk either fell or fled, but Nor and his men overcame them as weeds over cornfields. Nor fared round all the firth and laid it under him, and made himself king over those districts that lay there inside the firth. Nor tarried there the summer over till it snowed upon the heaths. Then he shaped his course up along the dale which goes south from the firth. That firth is now called Trondheim. Some of his men he lets fare the coast way round Maeren. He laid under him all whithersoever he came. And when he comes south over the fell that lay to the south of the dale bight, he went on still south along the dales, until he came to a great water which they called Mythical. Then he turns west again on to the fell, because it had been told them that his men had come off worsted before that king whose name was Skin. Then they came into that district which they called Ulders. Thence they fared to the sea, and came into a long firth and a narrow, which is now called Song. There was their meeting with Skin, and they had there a fickle battle, because their witchcraft had no hold on Skin. Nor went hard forward, and he and Skin came to hand strokes. There fell Skin and many of his folk. After that Nor fared on into the firth that goes north from Song. Their Skin had ruled before in what is now called Skin's Dale. There Nor tarried a long time, and that is now called firth. There came to meet him Gore his brother, and neither of them had then heard anything of Goy. Gore too had laid under him all the outer land as he had fared from the south, and then those brothers shared the lands between them. Nor had all the mainland, but Gore shall have all those isles between which and the mainland he passes in a ship with a fixed rudder. And after that Nor fares to the uplands, and came to what is now called Hedemark. 7 There that king ruled whose name was Rolf of the Hill. He was the son of Skadi the giant from north of the Dovrefell. Rolf had taken away from Finland Goy, Thorri's daughter. He went at once to meet Nor, and offered him single combat. They fought long together and neither was wounded. After that they made their quarrel up, and Nor got Rolf's sister, but Rolf got Goy to wife. Thence Nor turned back to the realm which he had laid under him, that he called Norway. He ruled that realm while he lived, and his sons after him, and they shared the land amongst them, and so the realms began to get smaller and smaller as the kings got more and more numerous. And so they were divided into provinces. Gore had the isles, and for that he was called a sea king. His sons were Heti and Bedi, they were sea kings and mighty overbearing men. They made many inroads on the realm of Nor's sons, and they had many battles, and now one, now the other won the day. Bedi ran into Trondheim and warred there. He lay where it is now called Beitsia and Beitstead. Thence he made them drag his ship from the innermost bight of Beitstead, and so north over Eldunak, that is where the Naumdales come down from the north. He sat himself on the poop, and held the tiller in his hand, and claimed for his own all that land that then lay on the larboard, and that is many tilths and much land. Hedi, Gore's son, was father of Svidi the sea king, the father of Halfdan the Old, the father of Ivar the Uplanders Earl, the father of Eystein the Noisy, the father of Earl of Rognvald the Mighty and the Wise in council. Earl Rognvald joined Harald Fairhair when he seized the land, but Harald gave him lordship over both the Maeren and Romsdale. He had to wife Ragnhilda the daughter of Hrolf Nosy. Their son was Hrolf Rollo who won Normandy. He was so tall that horses could not carry him. For that he was called Ganging Hrolf. From him are come the Rouen-Jarls and the English kings. Part 2. Beginning with Ragnvald the Viking, Earl of More in the latter part of the 9th century. His son, Rolf Rollo, was the leader of a band of Viking raiders who, for many years, pillaged Scotland, Ireland, and Gaul. In 911, Rolf was defeated in battle at Chartres. Nevertheless, Emperor Charles III the Simple recognized him as a legitimate ruler and granted him and his Scandinavian followers lands in the valley of the Lower Seine. Rolf was then baptized by the Archbishop of Rouen. Between 911 and 924, the boundaries of his holdings were substantially expanded to include most of the region that came to be called Normandy, because it was held by the Norsemen. He died before 933. Rollo married Papa of Bayo and together they had a son, William, nicknamed Longsword, who expanded the royal territory, but was murdered in 942. The line going back from Papa is interesting as her great-great-grandfather was Saint William of Gelone, the subject of many medieval chansons digest and Wolfram von Eschenbach's tales of the Grail family, including Parsifal, Tichrel, and William written circa 1210. His son, Duke Richard I, fought a long and bloody war with rival Viking bands to retain his inheritance. Richard I died 996. His son, Duke Richard II, married Judith of Brittany, sister to Geoffrey of Rennes, who was subsequently Count of Brittany. Geoffrey married Richard's sister, Hawisa. Richard's sister, Emma, was the second wife of King Ethelred II of England, nicknamed the Unready. After Ethelred died in 1016, he was succeeded by King Cnut, and Emma became Cnut's second wife. Emma was the mother of 2 English kings, Hardignut, son of Cnut, who ruled from 1040 to 1042, and Edward the Confessor, son of Ethelred, who ruled 1042 to 1066. Richard died on the 23rd of August 1026, after a reign of nearly 20 years, leaving 6 legitimate children, 3 sons and 3 daughters. The sons were named Richard, Robert, and William, and the daughters were Adeliza, Eleanor, and an unknown daughter who died young. He also had several illegitimate children. Their son, Robert Count of the High Moise, established himself at Falaise in 1026. He met her Lieve, a young girl of the town, and brought her to his castle and slept with her. Her father's name was probably Fulbert, a tanner. Robert became Duke of Normandy after the sudden and suspicious death of his older brother Richard in early August 1027. His illegitimate son, William, by her Lieve of Falaise, was probably born in the autumn of 1028. At the age of 7, William succeeded his father as Duke William II of Normandy, when Robert died in early July 1035 at Bithynia Nicaea in Asia Minor while returning from a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. 30 years later, when Edward the Confessor died, William claimed that Edward had promised him the succession to the throne of England. When his claim was rejected, he obtained papal approval for an invasion of England and defeated King Harold at the Battle of Hastings on Saturday the 14th of October 1066. William the Conqueror was crowned King William I of England at Westminster Abbey on Christmas Day 1066. In 1053, William married his cousin, Matilda, daughter of Baldwin V, Count of Flanders. Their children were Robert, Curthose, William, Rufus, who became King William II, Henry, Beauclerc, who became King Henry I-1100-1135, and Adela. Primary sources Part 1 and 2. 1. William the Conqueror by D.C. Douglas. 2. Icelandic Sagas, and other historical documents relating to the settlements and descents of the Northmen in the British Isles. Vol. 3, The Orkneyingers Saga, with appendices. Translated by Sir G. W. Dasent, printed for Her Majesty's Stationery Office, London, 1894. Links in the video description. Part 3. Here is a line of descent summarized, generation level numbered on left. 1. Fornjot ruler of Finland and Finland. Born ca. 550 AD 2. Third son of Fornjot was Keri, whose son was 3. Frost, who was the father of 4. Snow the Old, whose son was 5. Thorri, king of Finland. 6. Thorri's 2 sons were Nor and Gor. 7. Gor's sons were Hedi and Bedi. 8. Hedi was father of Svidi the Sea King, whose son was 9. Halfdan the Old, whose son was 10. Ivar the Uplanders Earl, whose son was 11. Eystein the Noisy, whose son was 12. Rognvald, Earl of Moor, mighty and wise in council. 9th century AD 13. Rognvald's son was Hrolf Rollo, king of Normandy, died ca. 933 AD. Picture off statue in Fargo, North Dakota. 14. Rollo's son was William Longsword Murdy read in 942. Mother was Papa. From her, 4 generations back to Guillaume of Gelone. 15. His son was Duke Richard I, died 996. 16. His son was Duke Richard II, died 1026. Married Judith of Brittany. 17. Their son was Robert, Count of Hymos and Duke of Normandy. 18. His son was William, Conqueror of England in Battle of Hastings, 1066 AD. Picture. 19. 20. His son was Henry I, whose son married Eleanor of Aquitaine and became Henry II, King of England. From there the line picks up with the Plantagenets, and runs. 20. King Henry II. 21. King John Lackland. 22. King Henry III. 23. King Edward I. 24. King Edward II. 25. King Edward Plantagenet III. 26. Thomas Plantagenet Prince. 27. Anne Plantagenet-Duchess. 28. John Bourchier Duke. 29. Humphrey Bourchier-Sir. 30. Anna Bourchier Lady. 31. Thomas Fines Sir Knight. 32. Thomas Fines Barondacre. 33. Margaret Fines Baroness Dacre. 34. Elizabeth Leonard. 35. Thomas Barnum. 36. Richard Barnum. 37. Bethel Barnum. 38. Israel Barnum. 39. Caleb Barnum. 40. Joseph Corey Barnum. 41. Lucy Permelia Barnum. 42. Anna May Morland. 43. Beatrice Morland Riffle. 44. William Barnum Jenkins. 45. Cynthia Ann Jenkins Davidson. William Barnum Jenkins, Jr. John Major Jenkins. Donald Walter Jenkins. Note on Rollo. According to the research of Canadian author David Livingstone, the Sinclairs were descendants of Guillaume de Gellone, through his great-great-granddaughter, Papa of Bavaria, who married the Viking leader, Rollo Ragnvaldsson. Among Rollo's descendants was William the Conqueror of Normandy. The Sinclairs, or Saint Clair, were given various other castles around France. However, they all went to England with the Conqueror. One Sinclair, though, named William, did not like the Conqueror, so with some other discontented barons, he went to Scotland and placed himself in the service of King Malcolmfrey of Scotland. This means that Guillaume de Gellone William of Orange, King of Septimania and the subject of several important medieval chansons digest as well as Wolfram von Eschenbach's Wilhelm is a direct ancestor. Livingstone can probably be trusted on his genealogy, although the specific source for the lineage is not stated. The authors of Holy Blood, Holy Grail cite a French study as one example of how well established the descent lines of this William of Orange are. They also state that William of Orange is part of the bloodline that established the Duchy of Aquitaine, but it seems unclear as to whether he was a direct ancestor or a brother of the source of that line. At any rate, the line from the Jenkins commoners of today through William the Conqueror, Rolla and Damp, Papa, and 4 generations further back brings us directly to Guillaume de Gellone. Livingstone supports the theory that Guillaume's father Theodoric or Thorri, a Merrick in the chansons, was Rabbi Maker, an exarch from the Middle East who ruled the Jews in Baghdad. He married Alda, the aunt of Charlemagne, and was appointed king of the Jews in the Languedoc, with his capital the city of Narbonne. As mentioned, Guillaume Therson was established as king of Septimania. See Livingstone's book The Dying God, The Hidden History of Western Civilization. Some sources examining Jewish documents trace the family line of this Rabbi Maker back to King David, the biblical progenitor of the house of David to which Jesus belonged.